games are a great source of entertainment. They've been enjoyed by people ever since they were first created. The one problem they've always faced is the high cost. Why do video games cost so much money? You go into any electronics store and there's a whole shelf of games that are $60 a piece. $60. That price point is just way too high for the average consumer. You're going to pay $60 in for what? To get this game that you're going to play for a couple of weeks and get bored of it? That's just crazy. Sure, video games cost a lot of money to make, but these developers aren't recording any losses. They're raking in huge piles of profit and lining their own pockets with deep amounts of money. Even after releasing the game, developers usually release 2 or 3 DLC packs. These packs cost about $10 to $15 each, so now you're close to $100 for a single game, and this game might last you a few weeks till the next flashy game comes and tempts you to buy it. With the next generation of consoles, Sony and Microsoft are both making users pay money to play online. That's completely ridiculous. First you buy the expensive game, then you're expected to pay money just to use the product that you already own. That's like buying a DVD and then having a fee every time you want to watch it. Number one reason that video games cost so much at the retail price is because of the huge development and production costs. Just as the price of video games has gone up over the years, so too is the cost of production. New technologies and improvement to video game consoles have led to developers creating games that are more versatile and realistic than ever. For example, Nintendo games cost about $1 to $3 million to make. PS3 games are anywhere in the $15 to $20 million range, and the next-gen consoles are going to cost even more than that. One of the main reasons that development costs so much is employee salaries. The average AAA game nowadays has about a team of about 200 to 300 people. All these people need to get paid, so the cost becomes quite high. Their salaries range anywhere from $40,000 to the low-end jobs, and the high-paying CEOs earn well over $100,000 each. Aside from the development costs, which we know are quite high, video game makers also spend huge piles of money on advertisement. After they made the game, developers want to assure it'll sell millions of copies. To do this, they spend millions of dollars advertising in places like online ads, TV commercials, and also in-store advertising at the various game stores. Developers and publishers spend all this money because video games can be quite profitable. Just look at the latest shooter in the Call of Duty franchise. It earned well over $1 billion in its first few days of sales alone.
Dear game publishers, adjust your budgets and stop chasing Call of Duty numbers, warns God of War designer David Jaffe on Twitter. Not every album is Thriller, not every movie is Titanic. It's okay. He is talking about companies who spend crazy amounts of money and hope to sell really well, like COD, but end up doing very poorly. Marshall Honoroff says that these high development costs may lead to another crash in the video game market like the one in 1983. Looking at the development of video games, it is crystal clear why the cost is so much to buy. In fact, Colin Moriarty, an editor of IGN, states that video games are essentially cheaper than they've ever been if we take inflation into account.
Now that we know the financial reasons behind the high price of video games, let's take a look at some of the economics. We know that video games are a popular item. When new games come out, the enthusiast gets really excited. And even if the price goes up and down a little bit, these people are still going to buy the game. That means the demand for video games is inelastic. This price inelasticity means that even if the price of video games goes up slightly, people that purchase them are still going to keep buying the games no matter what the price is. So if people keep buying it, why would developers lower the price? They're making profits and people keep buying games. It all makes sense to them. Also, from the last section, know that cost of production is really high for video games. In video games, research and development contributes quite a lot to the cost. Research and development is essentially the cost a company has to pay to create new ideas. For video games, they hire people specifically to come up with new ideas that'll sell to a lot of people. Also, consumers have to look at the opportunity cost involved with purchasing the game. If you're spending your $60, you want to decide if that game is worth your money, and also if any other games you could buy are better than the one you're deciding to purchase. That is why all video game companies strive their best to make sure the games are great, because they want you to be satisfied with the utility their product provides. Also, video game market is one where there's a lot of complementary products. That means there's a lot of choices, so video game developers strive to produce the best product possible. Economics principles apply to the real world and real businesses, but they are also heavily involved in the in-game worlds of many popular video games.
Economists are currently very involved in the game world. Take, for example, the job of Yanis Varoufakis, a Greek economist. He was recently hired by video game development giant Valve in the United States. His job is to run the in-game economy of some of their most popular games like Team Fortress 2. Using his real-world experience, the economist must run the in-game economy much in the same way that a bank are run in the real world. For example, he might introduce a new weapon type into the game in order to absorb some of the in-game currency, much like a banker might sell bonds in order to shrink the money supply. Ted Castronova of Indiana University Bloomington states that, to this day, we haven't seen anything in these virtual environments that violates fundamental economic theories.
Bullseye. Economics. Why? Economics.